Good morning, good morning. It's an early start for me today because today I am in Winchester, about 60 miles southwest of London, about 120 miles from my house and about 550 miles south of where I was just 8 days ago in Aberdeen. This city has Iron Age history, Roman history, Anglo-Saxon history. I wonder who that fellow is. So come with me on a 14-mile run and let's find out some interesting stuff about this place. Isn't that fantastic? That was evil. Got all tingly. Where's this? Can I finish? More bog. You find out what you're made of. Frying bacon. This run is organised by Big Feet events, and you may remember they do a whole series of element runs. I did the Big Heat with them a couple of years ago, and this one's called the Big Way Round.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, off you go!
So various courses today, 14 miles, I think there might even be a 19-mile option, certainly there's a marathon and an ultra. We're all mixed up together at the pace you're going to run, so that's nice. The course is basically flat to get through the city, and then the next 5 miles is pretty much generally uphill, and the final 7 miles generally downhill. So let's see how we go. So we started just about half a mile out of the city at the rugby club, and it's beautiful at the moment. You wouldn't realise we were so close. It's pretty mild today, but we are expecting rain, but because it's so mild I've decided not to bother with a coat. Amazing buildings around here. That's the Guildhall. I'm looking to see the cathedral, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking for. And we're now running along the river. Lovely, isn't it? So it looks like I missed spotting the cathedral, which is difficult because it's actually the 6th largest cathedral in the UK by surface area, only beaten by the likes of St Paul's and Westminster Abbey and things like that. And it's actually the longest medieval cathedral in the world. And we're also coming around to Winchester School, very famous, talked about in the same breath as Harrow and Eton and all of those. And you can send your dear offspring here if you wish for a mere £51,000 a year. This road we're running on now is alongside the River Itchen. This section of the Itchen between here all the way down to Southampton was developed to make it navigable for barges and was a really important source of bringing in vital supplies. But away up to our right is St Catherine's Hill, which actually has got an Iron Age fort on the top, much like the one that we saw at Whitsbury on the Downs run earlier this year. From the air you can clearly see the flat area with the ditches and fortifications all around the edge. And another similarity with the Up on the Downs run is up here on St Catherine's Hill. There's another Maze, like we saw at Breamore, a labyrinth cut in turf that monks would go around on their knees. Amazing things people used to do in medieval times. So this is St Catherine's Hill up here. You can see the steep sides and the Iron Age fortifications on the top. 1500 years old at least. And away here to the left is where you'd find the medieval plague pits, and this is where they used to bury their dead when bubonic plague took out 40–50% of the population in the 1300s. When the city cemeteries got full, we just brought them down over the way and buried them in plague pits. Bit of a long hill here. As I've said before many times, trail runs, it's about finish lines, not finish times. Don't exhaust yourself. If you need to walk. Pace yourself, know what you are capable of in training. And there's no point blatting up a hill like this 3 miles in, then running out of puff 13 miles in. I'm not walking yet, but I'm thinking about it. So first big hill out the way. We're now crossing the M3. We're about to join the Pilgrim's Way on Twyford Down, which was a place where people used to travel, pilgrims from Winchester, which was a huge site of religious importance. They would travel from Winchester all the way to the shrine to St Michael in Normandy. The best thing about hills is the views when you get to the top. So we're looking down, that's a village called Chilcombe, and I'll tell you more about that in a minute, because I worked there on a farm in the 1980s. We're just running along the side of a little B road, which in fact was a Roman road. An awful lot of Roman activity around here. Caesar was based in Winchester for a while. And in fact, it may surprise you to know that Winchester was the 5th largest town by surface area in Roman Britain. It's a real shame that you can't see it, but just over there, there was a military firing range. And that was on the farm where I worked back in the day. And because the military used the firing range all year round, Army and Navy, we weren't allowed in the field next door to it except at very specific times. And particularly with combine harvesting, we were only allowed in during the 2-week period in August when they stopped firing and reclaimed all the lead that had been embedded in the sand of the butts at the end, a great wall of lead when they pulled the sand away. It was quite amazing. So yeah, I ploughed these fields, 350 acres back in 1985. Magnificent view back to Winchester down there in the valley. So we're just coming up to Cheesefoot Head, which is the high point of the run. We're just over 6.5 miles, and then predominantly downhill apart from a few little bumps from now. I'm often told off because I don't show you what's happening at the aid stations, because I bring all my own stuff, but here you go. This is what big feet do for you.
Oh, did you not want to? Oh yeah, I wouldn't.
Hello guys. Well done.
Naked bars, biscuits, fruit, water, all sorts of lovely good stuff. But I've got my Snickers and my flapjacks and my bladder full of water, so I'm cracking on. We British are just an amalgamation of centuries, millennia of migration from other places. And in 4000 BCE, there was huge migration of agricultural communities from across Europe, and they all moved west generally. But we also had the Belgae or the Belgi, who came from the area like Belgium and parts of Holland and northern France, who moved across and colonised this whole southern area of Britain. And the Belgi, the name actually comes from the word, same root as the word bulge, according to linguists, that they used to bulge with or swell up with fury and rage. Winchester was known as Venta Belgi in the early days and during the Roman occupation. Not so pretty this bit, but hey, a little bit of warm drizzle. At least it's mostly downhill. That'll do. Cheers, Governor. Thank you. Thank you. Pointless gate. Wow. This is just an amazing bluebell wood. Just quick look around. Sorry. Quick look around there. Look at the colours. That's just incredible. Well, you look at the bluebells. Let me just say that the Romans and the Belgi lived very happily together. It was a convivial trading sort of relationship, and it wasn't until the 3rd century the Romans actually built some walls, some protective walls around Winchester, which at that time was probably the 5th largest city in Roman Britain. It was huge. The protective walls weren't against the Belgi, it was against the marauding Vikings who were coming in from the north and the east. Hat back on, stop the rain running down into my face. And a lovely strong smell of a dairy herd. Nice. After the Romans there was a settled period in these parts, and the next great figure was a guy they called Alfred the Great. It wasn't actually called Alfred the Great until about 500 years later, but Alfred was the king of the ancient Britons, and he had to defend quite heavily against the Vikings. So he scrapped the Roman road system in Winchester, put in a new grid system to make it easier to defend. But he was also known as a merciful and learned fellow who was very keen to get education to the masses, used English as the language of teaching rather than Latin, and he also went and talked to the Vikings and negotiated with them, and ended up dividing Britain between this part down in the south, which was the ancient British area, Mercia I think, and Wessex, and the northern part which they called Danelaw, which was really looked after by the Vikings, and that was East Anglia and North Yorkshire and so on. Just over 10 miles, 4 to go. And we've got the River Itchen away to our right. And we're now going to run along the Itchen and follow it pretty much all the way back into Winchester. Itchen is a really clear chalk stream, and it's actually one of the best fly fishing rivers in the country. Cheers, mate.
That's the same.
The River Itchen is just down at the bottom of the valley there behind the church, and as I say, it's a really pure chalk stream. The difference between a chalk stream and some of the other streams we saw at Balmoral, for example, they would all be run-off water from the mountains, picking up any dirt that's there, whereas chalk streams actually come up through the chalk. The chalk is porous, so the water is actually filtered by that, and so that's why it's so pure. As I say, it's a really popular fly fishing river, but also because it's so clean, there's some really fine quality watercress grown just a little bit farther upstream, which demands really clean water. And a lovely flock of sheep with last year's lambs by the looks.
You're in the whole race?
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
Takes mind off the pain. This is where I start to look forward to the finish, which means everything starts to hurt, everything starts to get a bit tired, everything gets a bit tight. And this is where you have to work against the voice in your head and your muscles. You know you can do this, you've done this before. Keep going and just trust the process, believe in yourself, take it steady. I'm not trying to break any records. My job is to get to the end. I'll say it again, finish lines, not finish times. And this is going under the M3. So it's not often you will stand underneath the motorway. Every time. Wet feet with 2 miles to go. So we're heading back towards Winchester now, still basically following the River Itchen, but we're now on St Swithin's Way. And St Swithin was a 9th century bishop of Winchester. As a saint, a lot of people made pilgrimages to Winchester for his shrine and for others. It was a site of real religious significance. But when Thomas à Becket was murdered in the 12th century, Canterbury Cathedral became a really important religious place of pilgrimage, and this St Swithin's Way is part of the 112-mile trip between Winchester and Canterbury. If you've enjoyed this one, do come along with me on the next one, which is the Great Manchester Run. End of the month, half marathon through the city with $10,000. And then 9th of June, it's Cheddar Gorge Challenge. Proper trails, proper hills. If you don't want to miss anything, then do the old subscribe thingy. And if you've enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, and that helps YouTube share it with others. See how clean the chalky water is. Last bit. Okay. Thanks, mate. Beautiful. Well done. So there we are, all done. The big way round completed. Well, 14 miles of it for me, just over. A really good, enjoyable run. Had the weather been better, we would have had some even better views, but a really good day out. Nice and challenging. So thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure sharing this one with you again as I head my congested way back to Cambridgeshire. I'll thank you for your company and look forward to seeing you another time.